Imagine standing before a warrior so terrifying that entire armies refused to fight him. A man over 9 feet tall, covered in bronze armor, holding weapons heavier than most people could even lift. Now imagine that the only person willing to face him is a teenage shepherd, carrying nothing but a sling and 5 smooth stones. Everyone believed the battle was already over. But what happened that day proved one unforgettable truth. Faith is greater than fear, and one stone can change history forever. This is the incredible true story of David and Goliath. Wano Ano Goliath, a nation frozen by fear. Thousands of years ago, the armies of Israel and the Philistines stood facing each other across the Valley of Elah. Every morning the soldiers prepared for battle. Every evening they returned to their camps. Yet for 40 long days, no one fought. Why? Because of one man. His name was Goliath. He wasn't just another soldier, he was the Philistines' greatest champion. His armor weighed over 100 pounds. His spear looked like the beam of a weaver's loom. His voice echoed across the valley like thunder. Every day he shouted the same challenge: choose one man to fight me. If he defeats me, we will serve you. But if I defeat him, you will become our servants. King Saul, Israel's strongest warrior, stayed silent. Even the bravest soldiers trembled. Fear had already won the battle before a single sword was lifted. A shepherd arrives. Far away from the battlefield lived a young shepherd named David. His daily life wasn't filled with glory. He spent his days caring for sheep, protecting them from lions and bears, playing his harp, and worshiping God. One day David's father asked him to deliver food to his older brothers serving in Saul's army. David had no idea he was walking toward the greatest moment of his life. As he arrived, he heard Goliath shouting his usual insults. The giant mocked Israel. But even worse, he mocked the living God. David couldn't believe what he was hearing. He looked around expecting someone to answer the challenge. No one moved. Everyone was afraid. David's bold question. David asked, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" The soldiers were shocked. Who was this shepherd boy speaking with such confidence? News quickly reached King Saul. David was brought before the king. Saul looked at him and said, "You are only a youth, and Goliath has been a warrior since his youth." By human standards, Saul was right. David had no armor, no military training, no sword, no shield, nothing that looked impressive. But David wasn't depending on human strength. The secret of David's courage. David answered Saul, "I have been keeping my father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep, I went after it. I struck it and rescued the sheep. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from this Philistine." David remembered something everyone else had forgotten. God had been faithful before, and he would be faithful again. Faith grows when we remember God's past victories. The armor that didn't fit. Saul agreed to let David fight. Before he left, Saul placed his own royal armor on David. The helmet was heavy. The armor was uncomfortable. The sword felt impossible to carry. David tried walking, then stopped. "I cannot fight in these." So he took everything off. Instead, he picked up his shepherd's staff, his sling, and 5 smooth stones from a nearby stream. To everyone watching, it looked ridiculous. To David, it was enough, because victory never depended on the weapon. It depended on the one guiding it. Face to face with the giant, as David walked toward Goliath, the giant laughed. He looked at the young shepherd and said, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" Then Goliath cursed David. The soldiers expected David to run. Instead, David answered with words remembered throughout history. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." Those words changed everything. reached into his shepherd's bag, pulled out one smooth stone, placed it into his sling, spun it faster and faster, then released it. The stone flew through the air with incredible speed. It struck Goliath directly in the forehead. The mighty warrior collapsed face first onto the ground. Silence filled the valley. The impossible had happened. David hurried forward, took Goliath's own sword, and defeated the giant once and for all. The Philistine army fled in panic. Israel rushed forward in victory. One stone had changed history forever. Why this story still matters today? David's greatest weapon wasn't his sling, it wasn't the stone, it was his faith in God. We all face giants, fear, anxiety, failure, doubt, loneliness, problems that seem impossible to overcome. Like Goliath, they stand before us, telling us to give up. But David's story reminds us that giants look big only when we forget how great God is. The size of your problem never compares to the power of your Creator. God often chooses ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things, not so the world will admire them, but so the world will recognize His power. The story of David and Goliath isn't just about a shepherd defeating a giant. It's about trusting God when everyone else is afraid. It's about courage born from faith. It's about believing that what seems impossible with people is always possible with God. The next time you face a giant in your own life, remember the shepherd boy who walked into a valley carrying only a sling and walked out having changed history forever. Because sometimes one act of faith, one moment of courage, one stone